Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees, so fair. Today is Monday, the 6th day of March 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable weekend. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or operating any type of motorized vehicle, again, we urge you to please, please, please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road, and remember, if you do so, then the life you save may just be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday. Or if you've celebrated one over the past few days, a belated happy birthday to you as well. And to remind you that this segment of For the Record, the birthday shoutouts are proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, whose advice to you is don't take chances with your family's future. For those of you who have lost loved ones, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing to you as well. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we wish you a speedy recovery. So folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. Beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord, at candw.ky. WhatsApp us, 925-3261. Follow us on YouTube. You do that simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. And of course, we are also broadcasting on Facebook as well. So, although I've given you those phone numbers this morning, we're going to have the phone lines closed off for a while because we have some very important guests in the studio and very important information that we want to convey to you, our listening and viewing audience this morning. And again, to remind you that the For the Record birthday shoutouts, this segment proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, whose advice to you is don't take chances with your family's future. So very quickly, I see some familiar names here that Miss Susan has shared with us from Facebook. Mr. Danny Roach is celebrating a birthday today. Mr. Errol Watler also celebrating his birthday today, and Mr. Fabian A. Worms. So Mr. Worms, Fabian Worms, Mr. Errol Watler, and Mr. Danny Roach all celebrating their birthdays today as well. If you have any one that you want to recognize celebrating a birthday today or may have celebrated one over the weekend, I would encourage you, since the phone lines won't be open for a while, to either email them to us or send them by WhatsApp. Again, the email address is fortherecord@candw.ky. The WhatsApp number 925-3261. So, folks, without any further delay, it is my pleasure to introduce my guest this morning. And it's been a while since he has been on here, but we know that during the period with COVID, his presence in the studio, was certainly needed. We need to get information out to people in the Cayman Islands. So in the studio with us this morning is the Chief Medical Officer of the Cayman Islands, Dr. Nick Gent. Also in the studio with us, and I'm going to talk very slowly because I want to make sure this is a tongue twister, National Epidemiologist Miss Rachel Corbett is also in the studio with us. They are here and they will be discussing the STEPS survey, and I'm not going to say any more about that because I'm a talk show host, not a medical practitioner or a specialist in any way. So, folks, first of all, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor.
Okay. Dr. Gent, can you tell us what STEPS is all about?
Certainly. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. STEPS is a survey technique devised by the World Health Organization. It has 3 different parts, and I'll turn to Miss Rachel to explain those to you in a minute. Mm-hmm. It's standardized across the world, so it allows us to use comparative information, and it's aimed at us trying to identify both the prevalence, that's how frequently occurring non-communicable diseases are in our population, and also look at some of the lifestyle issues and other issues that let us anticipate what the future demand would be. So one of my roles, for example, is that I need to do work on health needs assessment. So that is, what is the true need for different kinds of health interventions? And they might be community interventions about nutrition, use of cigarettes, alcohol, exercise, but it might also be about the needs for what the future likely demand for things like heart disease care and the like would be. And STEPS helps us to understand a number of those issues, anticipate them, and do that future planning. Because we've got to be aware, in Cayman, we have a lot of data around hospital use, so that's when people have become ill, mm-hmm. but we are very, very poor on information about hidden need. Those are people who haven't identified that they need healthcare or that future healthcare need. So STEPS helps us to fill those gaps. And I think if I turn to Ms. Rachel, she'll be able to give you a good idea of how the survey actually works.
Ms. Corbett, go right ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Trent, for the introduction. So, as we've said, the survey is about non-communicable diseases. So these are diseases that can't be passed from person to person like an infectious disease is. And the key diseases that this survey focuses on are things like obesity, diabetes, hypertension. That's what we're talking about here. And as CMO mentioned, also some of the factors that can indicate whether someone's more at risk of having those diseases. So we're looking at lifestyle factors such as exercise mm-hmm. and tobacco use and those kind of things. So the survey is called the STEPS survey, and that's because it has a few different stages or a few different steps to it. The first one is a questionnaire. So we'll have a team of interviewers who are out in the community and we'll attend a household and ask if someone's willing to take part and complete that questionnaire with them. And then the second step also happens at an individual's home, and it's to take a few basic physical measurements. So these are things like an individual's height, an individual's weight, and their blood pressure. And that enables us to look at some of those factors like obesity and hypertension, things like that. And then the third step involves an appointment with a nurse, because they will take a very simple finger prick blood sample, and then that enables us to look at blood glucose, so blood sugar levels, and blood cholesterol. So with these different elements, we're able to see what the individual reports of their different lifestyle choices and what they know of their health status, whether they know they have diabetes or hypertension or obesity, and then we're also able to gather some objective measurements to understand their health status at the time and whether those two align. And there may be some individuals who aren't aware that they might have some of these health conditions, and it's really great to be able to highlight that to them and ensure that they get the right care, but also for us to understand at a national level whether there is undiagnosed conditions in the community that we need to target more.
Okay. So would you say that those persons who know that there may be a family history of a particular disease, that they should not necessarily because they know that it's within their family, you would encourage them to participate in such a survey as well, despite the fact that they know it is there?
Yeah, well, so we'll be doing this survey from a sample of the population.
Okay.
So we won't be asking every household. We'll be pulling a sample of around 3,300 households, and those are randomly selected.
Okay.
So what this means is we can then get a representative understanding of the occurrence of these diseases, the prevalence, and that should reflect the whole population. So anyone that we do turn up and ask if they could take part, we would love them to take part. And it's voluntary for them to say yes or no, but we would love to understand both of those groups, those that do know and those that don't know about the disease, because we want to know the baseline prevalence.
Okay.
So this survey was done in the Cayman 10 years ago, in 2012, and we still go back to those data now to say what is the national prevalence of obesity, for example. We still use that data because we've not had anything since to update it. So we're partly doing this survey as well to be able to update the data that we have and have revised figures for those prevalences.
And how often should you have such data revised?
It'd be lovely to be able to get at a future point to data flows where they're live. People going to see their primary care doctor, people going to hospital, but people also recording the data themselves at home could contribute. But until we get to that sort of happy place in the future, which is a long way off, then we have to do the surveys. 10 yearly is probably too big a gap, given the way that things are changing, particularly the way that, say, addictive habits or nutrition changes very, very rapidly in society. But we've also got to be realistic. There's a public resource being put into here. There are people who are volunteering their time to be able to answer these questions and the like. So we've got to be careful. We've got to take the public with us. So 10 yearly is a little bit longer than I'd like, but probably practical and sensible. And it also gives enough time for changes to become really quite apparent, because the trend data is also important, not just what the problem is now, because we're trying to see what the future looks like to an extent.
Okay, we're going to take our first commercial break. Folks, when we return, the conversation with Dr. Nick Gent and Miss Rachel Corbett will continue. They're talking about the STEPS approach to surveillance, which is an international comparable, standardized, and integrated surveillance tool through which countries can collect, analyze, and disseminate core information on non-communicable diseases. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
The coconut industry on the sister islands boomed between 1890 to 1915, with annual exports exceeding 1 million per year. In 1906, the industry peaked with the sister islands, accounting for the entire export of the Cayman Islands. A coconut disease had previously killed off all of the trees in Grand Cayman. The industry was so successful that the government of the day went as far as to impose a special export duty. However, on Friday the 13th, 1915, 1915, a hurricane of unprecedented severity devastated the island of Cayman Brac, rendering most homeless and decimated 98% of the coconut trees on the Brac and 40% of those on Little Cayman. To add insult to injury, the coconut disease that struck Grand Cayman would soon arrive in the sister islands. During the 1920s and 1930s, efforts were made to revive the coconut industry, but the efforts were modest and the industry failed to reach its previous level of prosperity.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced from Founded Upon the Seas, A History of the Cayman Islands and Their People by Michael Creighton and the New History Committee.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
They say you only live once. I say you only die once, but you live every day. I'm Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, longtime supporter of Radio Cayman. Live your life, my friends. Happiness is in the journey, not the destination. When you're ready, I'm here to support you with the best financial decisions for your family's future. Cayman Insurance Center, protecting you and your family so you can take back your future. I'm Michael Webster, the sure way to protect your family. Call me when you're ready at 925-5433. Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets.
Think life insurance.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Are you feeling sick but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough, and sore throat to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means All personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Attention passengers, the Cayman Airways Panama airfare sale has been extended. In just under 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can explore UNESCO World Heritage Sites and the 8th wonder of the modern world, all within driving distance of a cosmopolitan city. Hurry, book by March 12th to get Panama airfares on sale from just $296 CI round trip. Some conditions apply. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're about 7 minutes away before our 8 o'clock news. In the studio with me, we do have the Chief Medical Officer in the Cayman Islands, Dr. Nick Gent, and National Epidemiologist, Ms. Rachel Corbett. They're talking about the STEP survey, which is the World Health Organization's stepwise approach to surveillance. It is an internationally comparable, standardized, and integrated surveillance tool through which countries can collect, analyze, and disseminate core information on non-communicable diseases. Before I throw the mic back over to them, we just have a birthday greeting here. Miss Tanisha Williams celebrated her birthday yesterday, so belated birthday greetings are coming from the Williams family. So Miss Tanisha Williams, belated happy birthday to you. Folks, the mic is back over to you.
Hi, thank you very much. I think one of the things that we should clearly touch upon, because I know it's very, very dear to the hearts of people in Cayman, that there is this issue that we must be very reassuring about, which is about data protection. Because clearly we're asking a lot of very personal information. People might be a bit sensitive about their age, their weight, but also there are many other different modules to this survey asking for a lot of lifestyle information, and it's for people to have confidence that to give us that information, we need to be absolutely clear about reassuring them that we're going to protect that data. And the first thing to say is, this survey and the way that the data is collected and processed was designed to have a very, very high level of protection right from the beginning by the WHO. The compliance is with best international standards of data protection. And as you know, in Cayman, we've got superb data protection laws.
Certainly.
And they give a very, very high level of protection. Ms. Rachel and myself have been involved with the data protection officers to make sure that we're absolutely squeaky clean. There's no question that things are compliant with the best standards of data protection and data protection laws here. Also, when people we come to people because we've picked the household and we've picked a person within that household, and that randomisation is really, really important. I'm going to come back to that just a minute. Is that there's full disclosure from us about how the information is used, and there is an information sheet for people that does tell them about who's analysing the data, how it's stored, and the like. In practice, the really key thing that people need to know is that we anonymise the data after it has been collected. The only time that we have the person's details is as we take them through step 1, 2, 3, because we obviously need to go back to people from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. Okay. So we need some linkage there. But after that, the data is anonymised, and it's quite a large pool of information that we then can work with. But it doesn't just stop there. When we analyse the data, we're very, very careful to make sure that there can't be something we call deductive disclosure. That is, that we present the analyses in such a way that it's obvious that had to relate to that person or that family or whatever. We don't. We have very strict rules about what data we can present. And so, for instance, we would very rarely present data that's based upon information from the findings of something in less than 10 people, say. Sometimes, so for instance, if you saw some of the spotlight reports that were produced by Ms. Rachel and myself, you'd see that we'd say there was such and such an incident in less than 5 people, because we're not wanting to give that personal information out. So there's a lot of very, very great deal of care taken, and that includes down to the people who are doing the survey.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the report that we produced from the smallest group that we would present, is presented in aggregates, people grouped together, and it's split by 2 age groups, so people 25 to 44 years, and then 45 years up to 69. And we'll present both those groups for male and female, but that's the smallest level of groups. There'll be hundreds of people in those groups. There's no way that someone's individual data can be worked out from that size group.
And I mean, when we look these days with so many social media platforms, and some persons are not reluctant in any way to share their information on these platforms. So one would hope that based on that trend, that there should not be too much reluctance, with all of the assurances that you will be, given in terms of the protection of that data, that persons will participate in it. Now, we're going to go to our 8 o'clock news, but when we return, we know that you haven't set a date for the rollout of this yet, but I want to talk a little bit more about that, how the survey will be conducted, whether or not the Economics and Statistics Unit of the Cayman Islands government will be involved in it. They're usually involved with census and things of that nature. So we do have persons with the particular expertise, in terms of collecting data, or whether or not those individuals maybe have to be medically inclined, as well. So lots of for us to talk about. And folks, don't forget, if you have questions, you can email us at for the record, one word, for the record, at candw.ky. WhatsApp us 925-3261. If time allows, we will open up the phone lines, but in the event that we're not afforded that luxury, I would encourage you, if you have any questions or comments, please send them in to us as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Price Right is 8 o'clock.
Spending less on everyday products is easy.
Spend less on office supplies, tools, and automotive products.
Spend less on groceries, fresh produce, and meat.
Spend less on electronics, TVs, and speakers.
Spend less on home furnishings, beauty products, and apparel.
At Priced Right, we believe you can live better for less.
To start saving, visit us at the Airport Center in Georgetown or at Republic's Plaza in West Bay.
For more info, visit pricedright.ky. Live better for less at Priced Right.
News is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm April Cummings. A woman socializing with friends outside her home in the Brushy Avenue area of Georgetown finds herself the victim of an armed robbery. Police say they got the call around 8:30 p.m. Friday evening. 2 men with firearms reportedly came up to the woman and several friends. Police were told one of the men approached the woman, grabbed bags belonging to her, and then fired a gunshot through the roof of the tent. That's where the woman and her friends had been sitting. The 2 men left on foot. The bags contained money and other personal items belonging to the woman. No one was hurt in the incident. Police say they're looking for 2 men, one described as having a stout build, about 5'9" tall, dark complexion, wearing a black hoodie jacket, dark jean shorts with slippers, and a dark face mask. The second man was described as slim, about 5'7", also with a dark complexion. He was wearing a black hoodie, dark jean shorts, slippers, and a white face mask. Police, of course, are investigating the incident, and detectives are encouraging anyone with information to call the Georgetown Police Station at 949-4222. Alternatively, anonymous tips can be provided to police on their confidential tip line at 949-7777. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Nick Gent says more information is needed about the health needs of the population. On Radio Cayman's For the Record this morning, Dr. Gent says that's why they're setting up a special survey called STEPS, which will gather information about non-communicable diseases on the islands. The last survey of this type was done in Cayman about 10 years ago. The Department of Environment records its longest sea turtle nesting season to date. Radio Cayman's Shanda Gallego has more.
The DOE reports 2022 sea turtle nesting season wasn't only the year with the most nests ever recorded, it was the longest on record. The DOE says the final nest hatched on February 22nd, a hawksbill nest in Little Cayman, and it had a very long incubation time of 75 days due to the cooler winter temperatures. The DOE says nesting also started earlier than usual on March 31st last year, making the total length of the season almost 11 months. 6 hawksbill nests of the season had an average hatching success of 86%, and in total, 556 endangered hawksbill hatchlings made it to the sea. Nesting season will soon start again, and the DOE is encouraging residents to consider turtle-friendly lighting to help conserve Cayman's wild sea turtles. Shanda Gallego, Radio Cayman News.
That is your local news. I'm April Cummings. Now to the BBC for stories making headlines around the world.
BBC News with Moira Alderson. 1 month on from the earthquakes that hit Turkey and Syria, the head of emergency operations for the Red Cross and Red Crescent Federation has said that the devastation remains all but total. Jamie Lasser said both the buildings and the social fabric of the entire region will need to be reconstructed. Iran's supreme leader has described a wave of poisonings targeting Iranian schoolgirls as an unforgivable crime. Over 1,000 girls across the country have suffered symptoms of poisoning since November. Russia has published video of a visit by the country's defence minister, Sergei Shoigu, to the occupied Ukrainian city of Mariupol. Russian forces almost levelled the city last year. Universities in Afghanistan have reopened after a winter break, with female students barred by the Taliban rulers from returning. The ban is one of several restrictions imposed on women since the Islamist group seized power in 2021. A court in Pakistan has upheld arrest warrants issued last week against the former Prime Minister Imran Khan. He's alleged to have incorrectly declared gifts received from foreign dignitaries while in office. Mr. Khan says the case is politically motivated. 10 of Israel's former Air Force chiefs have published an open letter opposing a planned overhaul of the judicial system. The letter to the Prime Minister and Defence Minister says the former chiefs are trembling at the impact of the reforms on Israeli Defence Force pilots. The runner-up in Nigeria's presidential election is leading a march in the capital Abuja to protest against the conduct of the poll. Atiku Abubakar and other opposition members say they'll go to court over alleged fraud. 4 Islamist militants have escaped from jail in Mauritania following a gunfight in which 2 members of the security forces were killed. The jailbreakers are believed to be members of Al-Qaeda. That's the latest. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Due to popular demand, the Cayman Airways has extended the Panama sale. Upgrade your summer travel plans with non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to Panama. Panama airfares now on sale from just $2.96 CI round trip. In less than 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can be in a land where the Caribbean meets the Pacific, where you'll find modern cities, rainforests, and so much more. Book by March 12th to catch Panama airfares on sale. Other conditions apply. Call 949-2311, contact your travel agent, or you can visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway today.
RC Fusion.
Monday to Thursday. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Fridays. Radio Cayman. Biggest variety in the morning. Biggest variety.
RC Fusion.
Following the 10 a.m. news headline. Biggest variety in the morning.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 81 degrees. Relative humidity is 82%. The barometric pressure is 30.01 inches and falling. The winds are light and variable, and the overnight low temperature was 77 degrees. Synopsis indicate light to moderate northeasterly winds and seas are expected over the next 24 hours across the Cayman area as the pressure gradient weakens over the northwest Caribbean. Satellite images show patches of scattered to broken low-level clouds over the northwest Caribbean drifting towards the west. Now, the forecast for today calling for partly cloudy skies becoming cloudy at times with a 40% chance of showers. Temperatures will be in the mid-80s today. Winds will be east to northeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Tonight, we can expect partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers and temperatures dipping to the low 70s tonight. Winds will be northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. High tide will be this morning at 9:13, low tide this afternoon at 3:20, and a high tide again tonight at 9:18. The sun will set this evening at 6:31 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:40. And the outlook is calling for light to moderate easterly winds and seas from tomorrow morning. And that's the very latest on your weather report.
Head east on Cove Road. Sharp left on Church Street. Sharper left. No, your other left. Did I say left? No, you missed it. Okay, I'm lost.
With money-saving bundling options for home and motor, we're like a GPS that doesn't steer you wrong. CG Britcay. Good like that.
Let's stop and ask for directions.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Change your thinking, change your life.
developing your emotional awareness can have profound effects on your life.
As Daniel Goleman said in his book entitled Emotional Intelligence, people who cannot marshal some control over their emotional life fight inner battles that sabotage their ability for focused work and clear thought, whereas people with well-developed emotional skills are more likely to be content and effective in their lives, mastering the habits of mind that foster their own productivity.
Change your thinking. Change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by On-Course Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. On-Course Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. On-Course Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. On-Course Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look at traffic. A lot of patience needed this morning as you head on down to Georgetown, as traffic is extremely busy coming from the east on Linford Pearson Highway. Also steady traffic on Shamrock Road. Busy traffic heading to Georgetown on Crew Road. Traffic is busy coming off of the Linford Pearson Highway on Agnes Way, and busy traffic off of Bobby Thompson Way. As we look to the Esterly Tibbetts Highway, busy traffic heading towards the Battlefield Roundabout. Steady traffic on both directions on Northstown Road. Moderate flow of traffic coming from the West Bay four-way stop. As we turn our eyes to Godfrey Nixon Way at Easton Avenue, traffic is moderate in both directions. Downtown Georgetown and Edward Street, traffic is moving on pretty good. Out of Georgetown on Shedden Road, things not looking too bad. Into Georgetown on Shedden Road, moderate flow of traffic. As we look to Owen Roberts Drive, traffic is flowing at a good pace. That's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report. Remember, click it or ticket.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist, or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Cayman Turtle Conservation and Education Center invites you to join them on Sunday 19th March for their 3rd annual Turtle Crawl 5K Walk and Run. All funds raised from the event will support the conservation of green sea turtles in the Cayman Islands. So come on out and show your support. The 3rd annual Turtle Crawl 5K Walk and Run, Sunday 19th March. Learn more and register now at www.turtlecrawl.ky. Proudly sponsored by CUC, Cayman National, Walkers, Rotary Central, Advanced Fire Services, Gatorade, and Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, we have the Chief Medical Officer in the Cayman Islands, Dr. Nick Gent, and National Epidemiologist Rachel Corbett. We're talking about the STEP survey, which is the World Health Organization stepwise approach to surveillance. It is an internationally comparable, standardized, and integrated surveillance tool through which countries can collect, analyze, and disseminate core information on non-communicable diseases. So we're talking about the survey that will take place here in the Cayman Islands. We haven't announced, a date has not been announced yet, for that, when that will take place, but it will certainly be very important to us here in the Cayman Islands in terms of in information and advising, in terms of policies that the government will seek to initiate as well. Can we talk a little bit about the importance of the survey and how it is conducted? The layperson would probably think about the fact that, maybe that information can be obtained through my doctor. If they were to give my doctor some of those forms and have his patients complete them, and we see, more of a prevalence in the Cayman Islands now of private private facilities here in the Cayman Islands. Why wouldn't something like that work for this particular survey?
So currently, we don't really have the infrastructure to be able to pull surveillance data from healthcare facilities. So whilst there is a lot of health data in the Cayman Islands in different healthcare facilities, that isn't able to be provided in a systematic way. Again, could be anonymized for public health surveillance purposes. That availability isn't there at the moment. That data is very much locked within those healthcare facilities. So having a survey like this means that we can gather that information in a systemized way, and we can gather it from a sample that will reflect the whole population. So we're not asking every household, we're just asking a sample of around 3,000 households. And that enables us to have these prevalence estimates, the occurrence of these diseases, and also the risk factors in the population. Some of the questions that we're asking probably aren't questions that your doctor would always ask you, because we're gathering a bit more information about people's lifestyle choices, how much exercise they do in a week, how much time they spend kind of sitting down and not moving so much, and different things like that. So it is a bit more information than you probably would just provide to your GP in an appointment, but also we're not able to access that data yet. In Cayman, particularly, as you say, with private providers and public providers, it's a bit more of a complicated picture to be able to do that. Maybe one day in the future we can, but right now this tool enables us to do that through a different route.
Okay, Doc, anything you want to add to that?
Well, the key thing here is that we're wanting this data without bias. And that's the really important thing, because all the current sources of data, if we were able to access them, would represent people who actually attend healthcare for that. Now we want to know what the state of the whole population is. People who are in contact with healthcare and people who are not in contact with healthcare. and we want to get a hold of people, whatever their socioeconomic circumstances are, so we get a full representation. That way we can get an idea of what the problems are and plan for the needs of the whole population, whoever they are. And that's the really key difference compared to any other data sources that we can get at the present time. So getting rid of bias and representing the whole population is the key thing.
Okay. Anything else?
I think the other point we'd like to make is one very important point is that we're not doing this in isolation. We're taking with us other parts of government, and in very particular, we've got to rely upon a number of colleagues who have access to things like the household data, who are very experienced in surveys themselves, and who can support us. And those people are very much involved, and we're working with them to try to find what's the best date for running this survey. And this survey we're planning to run in the next 3-4 months at latest, but we just want to make sure that we don't trip over each other by interfering with other surveys which are important, such as economic surveys and the like. And so so we're not bothering the population too much, and we're also using our colleagues as best as possible. The next thing that we're doing to make this all work, though, is to try to identify a group of enumerators, the people who go out to do this data collection, and that's really important because these people have to be trained, they have to be skilled, and they have to be trustworthy. To be able to do that. And I don't know if you want to talk about what the kind of people we're looking for, and quite frankly make people aware that we're looking for people, because there might be people who want to be involved, and it's a very good opportunity for us to talk to people who might be prepared to come and help us.
Sure. Yes, so currently we're looking for healthcare professionals who will be able to come and do these questionnaires during evenings and weekends, and we're looking for that particularly because, as we say, there was a few physical measurements that they would take, so having healthcare professionals who are confident with doing that in their day-to-day job would be great and give reassurance. For that, there's then a separate team we're also looking for, so trained nurses who will do step 3, so that's the final part where you provide a finger drop of blood, and that can happen at 2 different venues. That could either happen at a district clinic, so we'll have a team of nurses at district clinics so people could turn up there, or we also offer it if you'd rather have a nurse come to your house and do it there. We'll have nurses in the community available to do that, and those measurements need to be a fasting measurement, so they'll be happening in early morning before someone's had breakfast, so can be nicer to have someone come to your house, but we need to have trained nurses available to provide that care.
Okay, and when I hear about the blood sample part, I would imagine that selling that to the public in terms of providing that, maybe do you foresee any challenges with that? And how do we reassure people that the information that we're trying to obtain, this is really for the benefit of everyone, including the persons who are participating as well? How do we go about that? And the other thing, and I don't know how to put this to make this politically correct, but in the Cayman Islands, there's some segment of our population that feel that they're being overwhelmed by non-Caymanians. So, for instance, you hear persons when they're traveling by air, and they're going through our controls, security controls, and if they're challenged by someone or told that you're not allowed to take this item, they feel offended because it is someone who's not of their nationality who's telling them that. And you constantly hear people talk about, the fact, why don't we have Caymanians, manning these particular positions? That level of confidence in terms of this survey will probably be challenging as well, because we know that in the medical profession, while we do have Caymanians, we do have many non-Caymanians, as well. And those are challenges that will have to be overcome as well. Can you speak a little bit about those?
Yes, certainly. Well, if I start with the first bit, which is persuading people to have the finger prick test, yes, it does sting a little bit, but it does yield incredibly useful information to us, particularly about the diabetes and the heart disease risk. And if we find something abnormal, we'll tell people. So there is a quid pro quo there, that people will be able to get some direct feedback of their own results, and it is hugely important because I'm not prejudiced the outcomes of this survey, but I think none of us can ignore the fact that food in Cayman is extraordinarily good. And portion sizes, particularly when you're eating out, can be very, very large. And it is quite clearly giving us a problem in that people controlling their weight and having the best nutrition is a significant issue. And we need to really understand how that is then impacting, because we know that if people are carrying a bit too much weight, then they are at high risk from diabetes and from heart disease. And so being able to document two really key aspects to that, the blood sugar and the cholesterol, is going to let us tie that to see what's happened in 10 years ago and what's happened now, to see what is to the eye looks like we have got an increasing problem, but we need to know the facts and not use prejudice. So by having this blood sample, and I say it is a finger prick test, done under sterile conditions, done by a professional person, you get some information directly, and Cayman as a whole gets a lot of really, really useful information, because we're going to have the right services to both protect people, try to prevent things, and we also need the services to be able to pick up the problems when they've arisen. And without that data, we're blind to that. You then make a very, very good point about who's doing this. Now, we are recruiting, we're open to recruitment about a number of groups. We prefer the health professionals for a very simple reason, that they have already a code of practice and professionalism. We know that these are people who have satisfactory police references and everything else, and so when people are going to their own home. It may be possible that we want to recruit from other professional groups as well, who have got similar kinds of backgrounds, because it's really important to us that people have confidence that somebody who's taking your information and coming into your own home is a safe and secure person. Now, we're not trying to be biased against Caymanians being in these positions. I do know personally that I am concerned that we do not have pathways for progression for Caymanians through to the highest tiers in some of the, particularly in the clinical areas. That's something I've spoken about. I spoke about that at the health conference when I just started here, and it's something that I've been taking around when I've been speaking to all healthcare providers, saying, what is it that you are doing to providing pathways of training so that Cayman becomes sustainable, and that great people can go abroad and get a qualification, that we may not be able to sustain that kind of tertiary education in Cayman, but we mustn't then put an artificial barrier in their place. We must be able to provide training routes through so people can get accredited qualifications and become the next generation of the top tier of health professionals in Cayman.
Certainly. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we want to talk about the fact that this survey is going to include all 3 islands as well, and also to talk about what can respected individuals and organizations within the Cayman Islands do to encourage persons that if they are chosen to participate in this survey, to encourage them, to do so, as well, because we're going to need, that as well. Folks, please stay tuned. The conversation with Dr. Nick Gent and Miss Rachel Corbett will continue after this short commercial break.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, K-Man.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN money transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
Ouch! It's hard to expect a good day after a bad night's sleep. Take advantage of Brandsour's Home Gallery's Sleep Sale. Save up to 40% plus free delivery on Tempur-Pedic and Silly mattresses. Insomnia is bad for your health, so start sleeping better with the Brandsour's Home Gallery 40% off Sleep Sale. Hurry! Sale ends Saturday, March 11th. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 949-5211.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Nick Gent and National Epidemiologist Ms. Rachel Corbett. We're talking about the STEP survey, which will be taking place in the Cayman Islands at some point. Date has not been, set for it yet, but they're providing you with information. This is crucial, and I just want to put this little editorial out there to encourage people. If you are approached about participating in this survey, please do so. I'm not sure whether or not many of you know, but in the 60s, there was some cancer research that was done here in the Cayman Islands. That was done, I think it was 1965 or 1966 by a private physician. When I read that article, I didn't see too much in there about persons, objecting or not wanting to participate in it. But it is extremely important. You may have heard me on For the Record talk about after Hurricane Ivan, and we had ECLAC, which is the acronym for the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean here in the Cayman Islands to help us with the assessment of damage after Hurricane Ivan. What they found was that it was difficult to obtain data in relation to several areas simply because we either didn't store that data, we didn't collect it, or if it was there, it was dispersed through various entities within the government. So data is very important. I will say that I suffer from glaucoma, not high blood pressure, not diabetes, but there could be some linkage as well, between glaucoma. Had I known earlier, or because to my knowledge there was no history of it within my family, but had I known earlier, and not to mention the fact that if I had followed the advice that was given earlier as well, I probably would be in a better situation than I am in now in terms of my glaucoma, because if you don't know, glaucoma is something that cannot be reversed, and it will result in blindness, at the end of the day. So we know many people out there, because of our lifestyles, because of our dietary habits and everything, we we are faced with some of these conditions. So this survey will help you. It will help the Cayman Islands. And we talk about making the Cayman Islands a more healthier place. I believe that will contribute to it as well. But I'll let the experts talk more about that. That's my editorial for the day.
Oh, I don't know. I think you should be doing my job. But, I mean, that was so beautifully put. You drift into another area of interest to me, which is about the way we may be able to one day systematise medicine in Cayman. And core to that is exactly that, having a common health record, about having that linkage back to historical problems. We share one problem. I've got family histories of glaucoma, and I go and get my intraocular pressures checked every year, and it's critically important. But we have no systematic way that we do those kind of things. We have a very, very advanced healthcare system in many ways in Cayman. Not always as easily accessible to everybody as we would like. But if we take one example, we have got probably one of the richest set of tools for screening for various diseases in Cayman, but we don't have a systematic call and recall database which ensures that people go in at the right time and has the right levels of uptake to be able to maximise the opportunities that are there. That's another problem with this dispersed linkage and dispersed data, and the fact that it isn't linked together. And there's so much can be done in Cayman to benefit people using existing resource, but there are, as you pointed out, a number of problems there, and that is that the sharing of data, the linkage of data, and us making sure that these data sets are comprehensive, and that way they can not just give us a more a higher performing healthcare system within the available resources, but it can also make sure that the health and healthcare services are accessed by those that are in need, because quite often a lot of people in need don't know they're in need, don't know how to access healthcare, or maybe there are bars to them accessing healthcare. And these are things which need to be looked at and managed. Every society has them. Cayman has nothing unusual in that respect. I'm not suggesting that people are not following good policies, but it's the Cayman healthcare system has grown very rapidly over a relatively short period of time, and maybe there needs to be a bit of a stock take as to how it can be. All that rich resource be made the maximum utility of.
I think your personal example also just really points to what we're trying to enhance in Cayman Islands is of prevention of non-communicable diseases, and you talked particularly about early detection, and that's one of the key ways of if we catch things earlier, then we can have the best outcomes. And so going back to the STEP survey, it essentially offers a free health check for anyone who takes part, and we'll provide all of the physical and the blood prick measurements that we take. We'll provide those results back to them at the time, so they essentially have a health check at the time. But also by gathering this data nationally and having these prevalence estimates nationally, we can include that in policy going forwards and healthcare planning going forwards to enhance our prevention efforts and our prevention work in Cayman to improve our health overall.
Some Scarborough, can you repeat those steps again and what they entail?
The 3 steps of the survey? Yeah, of course. So step number 1 is a questionnaire. So this is when an individual will come to your house and ask a series of questions about your lifestyle and your health-related behaviours. Step 2 is also part of that same time point where the individual who comes to ask the questions will also take some simple physical measurements. This includes your height, your weight, and your blood pressure and your waist circumference. And then the third step is done separately by a nurse, and that's because it is a finger prick of blood, so it needs to be done in a sterile environment and by a trained healthcare professional. And this can either be by the participant attending a district clinic, or they can book an appointment for the nurse if they would prefer to come to their household to do that last test. And it's quite a quick process. It'll just be a 10-15 minutes to do the finger prick, one drop of blood, and quite quick results.
Okay, we do have a caller. Let's see. Let's grab the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, hi, morning, OC, and morning.
Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, can you hear me? Good morning.
Okay, let's try one more time. Okay, why don't we do this, Miss Susan? We're going to take. Okay, I see her on the phone, so maybe she has the caller back with us. Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, if the caller isn't there, we want to give our guests an opportunity, for some wrap-up, as well. And I'm sure that there will be more discussions on this. Certainly, For the Record, will be open, for our guests to return, because this is something that is extremely, extremely important, and we need to give as much attention to it as possible. Folks, please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Ouch! It's hard to expect a good day after a bad night's sleep. Take advantage of Brandsour's Home Gallery's Sleep Sale. Save up to 40% plus free delivery on Tempur-Pedic and Silly mattresses. Insomnia is bad for your health, so start sleeping better with the Brandsour's Home Gallery 40% off Sleep Sale. Hurry! Sale ends Saturday, March 11th. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 949-5211.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Radio Cayman News.
Concerns last night's public meeting about the east-west arterial extension.
If there can be a solution found that is less damaging to our central mangrove wetland system.
Several of the roundabouts will be skirting the mangrove.
It has to be more valuable to our country to protect it than to go build a road in there.
I really think for the first meeting it was really good.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. We're on the last leg of this segment of the show this morning with Dr. Nick Gent, the Chief Medical Officer in the Cayman Islands, and National Epidemiologist, Ms. Rachel Corbett. We're talking about the STEPS survey, the World Health Organization's program. We have spoken about what STEPS is all about. We have covered who will be asked to participate in this. We have also spoken about why the Ministry of Health and Wellness is undertaking this and what they're seeking to achieve. What I'm going to also ask our panelists to repeat again, how will the survey results be shared and how the results be used as well, because I think that's extremely important for participant confidence, as well. Ms. Susan, we still haven't connected that caller, have we? Okay, I think we're having some technical difficulties where he's hearing us, but we're not able to hear him. But we're going to try one more time. Caller, good morning. Are you there?
Yeah, hi, morning, OC.
Nothing. Okay. So, folks, over to you.
Well,
Our apologies for that.
Well, no. Apology to the caller for sorry we're not able to answer your questions, but if you want to email me, my email is on the ministry's website. I'd be more than happy to give you a response that way. And thank you very much for just this opportunity to wind up and say, first of all, this is going to be the only clear, unbiased survey of health and lifestyles there has been for 10 years. Critically important. That's going to give us a view as to how life in Cayman has changed for those things that are going to be important to people's future health, welfare and well-being. It's no good just having a healthcare system that can replace a joint, put a stent in your coronary artery, everything else like that, which we do superbly. Best to avoid it.
Yes.
And this is going to give us that planning advice to help us to do that. Then there is the issue about how we're going to run it.
Yep, so this survey is going to be run among a sample of 3,300 individuals that we were asked to participate. It's voluntary, and there are 3 steps involved. Step 1, a questionnaire. Step 2, at the same time, is some basic physical measurements, so height, weight, blood pressure. And then step 3 is to have a finger prick, which drop of blood provided, which then we can look at blood glucose and cholesterol. We'll be running this across all 3 islands because we want to understand the health needs across all of the Cayman Islands. And from the data that is provided, after it's collected, the data will be anonymised, so no one's individual results will be able to be detected or understood from what's released. We will be releasing a report which provides summary aggregate results, and we'll also alongside that provide a summary fact sheet which can highlight the key data and the key trends that we've found and compare it to the results of 10 years ago, so the public can see how the health of the country's changed. And yeah, we would just really appreciate everyone who is willing to take part. If a numerator comes and you are selected, we'd really value your time in taking part. And for those who are involved in the community or public figures, anything you can do to raise awareness for this really important data, we'd appreciate your support.
And this is one that you don't have to worry about the data being connected in any way with someone trying to impose taxation here in the Cayman Islands as well. I figured.
No. I've heard those debates many times, particularly on your show when I'm driving back up to the government building from my early morning work at the hospital, and we do appreciate how sensitive it is. Don't let anybody out there think that we take this lightly or not. This is key to us, because if we break your trust, we'll never get the chance to do this kind of thing again. So we guarantee we'll be protecting your anonymity. We won't be publishing data in a way that anybody can discover what's been happening, and it is key to the future of yourself and your future generations. It's a way we can compare ourselves to other countries, because these surveys are done in many countries around the world. That's important because we can go and look at factors that we're finding here, find countries similar to ours, and look and think, hey, they're doing better. Why are they doing better? I'm not afraid of stealing ideas from other people in other places, and if that lets us identify better ways of doing things so that we can protect the future of Cayman people, and we can get them healthier so they can have longer lives, but really importantly, higher quality lives. That would be great. Even better if we can put all the doctors out of business. That would be wonderful, but we're not going to get there. But aspiration. But remember, it is anonymised. We are going to protect your identity, and these outputs are going to be hugely important for the kind of healthcare services, and that's not just the doctors, nurses, whoever, doing things to you because you become ill. It's the healthcare services that are there to protect people and prevent ill health that we need to plan.
And you say that you have worked very closely with the agency responsible for data protection as well to ensure that...
Yes, we consult our internal data protection officers. They're very, very good. The data protection law in Cayman is we're both Ms. Rachel and myself are very, very familiar with, and we've worked in the past under similar data regimes. So we're not coming to this green. We do understand it, and we do understand the importance, and that has been built in. WHO built it in almost from the beginning, but there's no harm in us confirming that it's right and fit for use here, and we have been at pains to do that.
Mm-hmm. And when the program commences, you're looking at about 8 week period.
Yeah, it'll run for 8 weeks exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Takes a long time to get around 3,000 people to do this level of detail.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When people do participate, it's not a 5-minute interview. It does take a little bit longer, and we apologise for that. But if you're going to do this job only once every 10 years, do it properly, do it well. Let's make sure we've got a really rich data set that everybody can use, because there's going to be important information there. There's going to be important information there, for example, where schools are with access to exercise, well-being, nutrition, workplaces, opportunities for people in not just in thinking of sport as being competitive team-based sport, but access to leisure activities which improve fitness and health, which anybody and everybody can enjoy. These are really important things, so people can justify that, hey, we've got a population in need, and these are the needs.
Okay, one of our listeners wanted to know whether or not you can advise if persons at His Majesty's prison will be considered for the survey as well. It says it would be interesting to know of any commonalities like mental health or learning issues that may have impacted the overall brain health, especially if persons may have undiagnosed issues.
So it's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
So the sampling that will be done for the survey is based on households, so it won't include community institutions, so it won't include care homes or prisons at this time, but I understand there is other work that goes on within the prisons to do health needs assessments and to understand the needs there. So they won't be asked as part of this survey, no. But there is other work that looks at that.
Yeah, I've taken a particular interest in the prisons because in law I'm responsible for the healthcare service to prisons. And one of the earliest things I did when I arrived on the islands was to go and visit the 2 prisons and also the detention centre for refugees. Because we have a special responsibility to prisoners. They don't choose to not be at liberty. And so they are classed as vulnerable people, especially vulnerable people, and I have that particular responsibility. I've had a number of meetings with colleagues from Home Affairs and the Prison Service, and we've got a very, very good collaborative working relationship. If I might say, I have been hugely impressed by the Prison Service here. Its professionalism, the way that they care for people, and the respect that they get from the people they're caring for. And so we're looking at the way that the healthcare services are delivered to those kind of institutions, and part of that is us getting a very good idea as to what those problems are. Certainly in my first initial view, I'm seeing the kind of things that I might expect, having done quite a bit of work around prison health. In the long-term past, it was 20, 30 years ago, so I'm coming back to prison health now. And very, very particularly the problem is mental health issues, and either mental health issues which are derived from incarceration, or the fact that mental health issues were part of persons' problems when they arrived, when they committed offences and the like. Just starting to get into that and understand it, but it is very clear that I'm seeing the kind of problems I expected, but they're being mitigated in a large extent by the quality of the prison officer staff. They really are very, very good, and things like the work and training programs and so on are exemplary. I really have a huge respect for them, and the quality of that came across to me very much so in the last few weeks, when I had the pleasure of attending the Prison Superintendents Conference that was from a number of overseas territories, and I could judge the quality and the respect that people had for our prison service by other prison services, and they're held in very high esteem.
Okay. We have another question here. The person wanted to know if they have been selected, how will they know that they have been selected? Will someone just show up at their home? And whether or not there is any age limitation in terms of those persons who will participate in the survey as well.
Thank you. And Rachel's just having reappeared from trying not to cough all over my previous segment. I think that's because she had a dry throat
moment.
Not COVID.
No, so those that are eligible to take part in the survey are between the ages of 18 to 69.
Okay.
And your first question about when people know whether they've been selected, yes, someone will turn up at your door and explain what the survey's about. If you're not in, they'll leave a call card, so just leave a card that describes what the survey's about and indicate that they'll try and come back at another time.
Okay. Any closing comments, Dr. Jen?
Just to say thank you very much indeed for giving us this opportunity to explain what's happening, and thank you very much for giving us so much time to do that. We look forward to being able to run this survey and to share the results with everybody in due course. And please, folks, if you do get a knock on the door, please help us by participating. I know it'll be a bit of a hassle, and that we'll want to take some of your time, but it is very, very important for your future and for your family's future.
Okay, folks, we've reached that time. We're going to take our commercial break, go to the headline news. When we return, we will have representatives from work in the studio with us. We will have the acting interim director, Mr. Jeremy Scott, Deputy Director, Ms. Shan Pardo, Customer Care Manager, Mr. O'Neill Roberts, and Employment Services Manager, Ms. Tanya Ebanks. So please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after headline news.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's spread the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
We give you honor and praise, adoration and glory.
Radio Cayman.
Praise time.
Praise him, praise him.
Come and let's praise the Lord. Come and let's praise the Lord. Praise him in the morning and in the evening. Oh, let's praise the Lord.
Praise time in the morning.
Praise him, praise him.
Weekdays 6 to 6:30 a.m.
Radio Cayman, waking you up.
Rock my soul in there. Lose all my faith in him. Rock my soul in there. Lose all my faith in him.
Praise time.
I know he cares. He'll always be there. Oh, yeah. Praise him, praise him, praise him.
Praise time.
Set your clock for 6 a.m. or you will miss it.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
In your headlines, police are looking for two men after a woman is robbed at gunpoint outside her home in the Bushy Avenue vicinity in Georgetown Friday evening. One man was described as having a stout build, about 5'9" with a dark complexion, and was last seen wearing a blue hoodie jacket, dark jean shorts, slippers, and a dark face mask. The second man was described as slim, about 5'7", also with a dark complexion. He was wearing a dark hoodie, dark jean shorts, slippers, and a white face mask. If you have any information, call 949-4222. If you'd like to make an anonymous tip, you can do that directly to police on their confidential tip line at 949-7777. You can also log on to the rcips.ky website to leave a tip there as well. In international headlines, Fox News is on an unlikely collision course with two leading contenders for the Republican presidential nomination over the rights of journalists. In defending itself against a massive defamation lawsuit over how it covered false claims surrounding the 2020 presidential election, the network is relying on a nearly 60-year-old Supreme Court ruling that makes it difficult to successfully sue media organizations for libel. Former President Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, two favorites of many Fox News viewers, have advocated for the court to revisit that standard, which is considered the foundational case in American defamation law. 4 U.S. citizens have been kidnapped after gunmen opened fire on their vehicle in the northern Mexico border city of Matamoros, the FBI said Sunday. The four entered the city across from Brownsville, Texas on Friday. They were traveling in a white minivan with North Carolina license plates. The FBI San Antonio Division Office said the vehicle came under fire shortly after it entered Mexico. All four Americans were placed in a vehicle and taken from the scene by armed men, the office says. The FBI was offered a $50,000 reward for the return of the victims and the address of the culprits. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
When you have a sports or fitness-related injury, trust the expertise of the HSA's Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic to get you back in the game. Our internationally trained and certified physicians specialize in sports traumatology, sports medicine, pain management, and orthopedic surgery. For treatment of common injuries such as tendonitis, arthritis, tennis elbow, rotator cuff, or knee tears, schedule a consultation with the Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic at Smith Road Medical Center by calling 949-8600 or visit hsa.ky for more information.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have a full house in the studio with us now. As you heard before we went to our headline news at 9 o'clock, we have the pleasure of having in the studio with us the Acting Interim Director of Work, Mr. Jeremy Scott, Deputy Director, Ms. Shan Pardo, Customer Care Manager, Mr. O'Neill Roberts, and Employment Services Manager, Ms. Tanya Ebanks. They're here to talk about the new regulations that have been put in place that will come into effect on the 31st of March of this year. And I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to first of all say good morning to everyone. Welcome to For the Record, and welcome the Acting Interim Director, Mr. Jeremy Scott, to introduce his panel.
Sure. So morning, Mr. Connor. It's always a pleasure actually being here with you. I spoke on the last occasion of being here. To be within your midst as well, Legacy Immigration, it's always a pleasure. And good morning, happy Monday to your listening and viewing audience as well. So just to introduce my team, to my left I have Deputy Director for Labour Needs and Supply, Ms. Shan Pardo, and to her left I have Ms. Tanya Ebanks, who is the Manager for Employment Services Unit, and to her right, her left, it would be Mr. O'Neill Roberts, who's one of our customer care managers. So thank you, Mr. Connor, for having us here today.
Okay. First of all, let's tell our listening and viewing audience what currently obtains as far as the requirements for a person applying for a temporary work permit, and then we can go into the changes that will take effect on the 31st of this month.
Sure. So I think for some decades now, temporary work permits are one of the first facilities that employers actually seek to utilize in applying for temporary work permits prior to this regulation change. The application, police records would be, and cover letters would be primarily some of the critical components of an application. Prior to that, or as of the regulated changes, now we're seeking to introduce, as of the 31st of March this year, requirement to have those temporary work permits advertised. If I could actually go into the background to that. So historically, as I mentioned, the temporary work permits, I remember when I joined immigration many moons ago, I won't reveal the actual period of time, but many moons ago, predominantly through policy as well, we sought to try to manage temporary work permits truly to be utilized for temporary employment opportunities, and not necessarily as a first segue into full-time opportunities or long-term contractual employment. That was for good reason, in that even prior to March of 2020, the application process for grants or annuals required there to be advertisements in the newspapers for 2 consecutive weeks. And that way, the job seekers, or Cape Manians primarily, had the opportunity to know about the job opportunity, know where that job opportunity existed, and to apply for those jobs. So as of the 31st of March, temporary work permits, and I can get into some of the caveats and carve-outs for exemption, but as of the 31st of March, any application that is 31 days or more would be required to be advertised on Jobs Cape Man portal, and that is equivalent to the annual advertisement that currently exists. The background to that, again, is that we do identify with proper tracking that applications or job postings or applications in its entirety for the last couple of years currently identifies that half or 50% of those applications that we receive, which equates to about 60,000 as of 2022, is a collection of applications for temporary work permits. So 50% of those, if we were to take a further check on that, that means that close to 40 or 50% of those applications at first instance of filing, Caymanian job seekers are not seeing those applications, are not seeing those job opportunities. So this initiative by the Minister of Labour and the government is to enhance access to seeing jobs and applying for jobs at first instance.
Okay. Ms. Yan, anything you want to add to that, or anyone else? Please feel free to.
Good morning to the listening public. Really good morning to be with you all. Just like Mr. Scott was saying, this will give Caymanians an opportunity to actually see those jobs that they haven't been able to access before. And really and truly, that is our remit, to get Caymanians employment. So it's a definite balance between the business community and having our people employed, but definitely putting the emphasis on our people. So we're hoping that this will see some turnaround and actually see an uptick in actually having Caymanians employed.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you're doing is you're encouraging employers to use the Jobs Cayman portal as a first step to finding employees who are Caymanian, possibly Caymanian, and who are already on island. Now, can we talk about the reliability of the jobs portal, how it is used, how persons can access it as well, and the time frame within which the person has to advertise on that Jobs Cayman portal?
I'm going to just ask either Mr. O'Neill or Ms. Tanya, because they see that on a day basis. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Morning, Cayman. Just a couple things that I just wanted to touch.
in terms of this new provision that's going to come in on the 31st, what we've done is we've engaged our stakeholders to find out what some of their concerns were. And one of their concerns was timelines. So what we want to assure the public is that we've put significant resources in place to ensure that when an advert is placed on our portal, it's reviewed, and within about 48 hours, it then goes live so that Caymanian can see it. In terms of Caymanians trying to have access to our portal, again, we've taken some steps to ensure that that process is not a difficult one, but one that is quite seamless. So the Caymanian, they just have to provide an ID to verify who they are, because as a Caymanian, you have access to additional services. So we just want to verify that. And we've also integrated our system with e-services. So once you have an e-service account, then that's the first step. And then with that account credentials, then you would log on to Jobs Cayman, fill out basically an application form with your personal details. Then you're approved, and then through there, you have access to job seekers. You have access to apply through the portal for available jobs. And the same thing with employers. Once you register, then you're able to establish your company on the portal, then place adverts. And we even have the situation where you can also pay for work permits in terms of submissions through the portal once you've registered. So again, another efficiency that we've added. And I'll get my colleague here to expand on what are the available services once you've registered as a job seeker.
Okay, Ms. Tanya.
Thank you, William. Good morning, everybody. Just to let the listeners know, especially the Caymanians that be considering this as an option, we already have quite a bit of Caymanians that are registered on the portal. The pandemic helped to propel that forward. We were out there in the community with various registration drives, so we're pretty comfortable with that so far. But we do believe there are still persons that might want to consider this as an option, or there are persons that are already on the portal but are probably not, as active as they probably could be. And we want to let them know that these jobs are going to be available before their view at this time. There is a facility called Employment Services Unit, in case they're not aware, and that is, we have several employment services officers, and along with myself and an assistant employment services officer who stand at the ready to offer you direct services. So once you register, or if you're already registered and never chose the option before, all you need to do is to go onto your profile and say, I want to have access to full services. Once they initiate that process, then their profile will come over to us, and then that signals us to get in contact with them to begin that assistance facility. Now, people could have been inactive for a little while, so their account could have gone dormant for a little bit. It's still available to them, but it will not be before our attention. So, if you are there and you think that you're not hearing from us, feel free to reach out to us. We have a group email. It's called workemploymentservices@gov.ky. That's WORCemploymentservices@gov.ky. And we also can be reached directly at 649-8087 or at the main number. We also have a toll-free number for those persons that, having that bit of a concession on having cost, especially if you might be unemployed at this time. Our direct toll-free number is 1-800-534-9672. That's 1-800-534-9672. And so just to get back to the facility, so if you're a Caymanian out there, you might have been comfortable using the system before, or you may not be comfortable. And you want to, I just need that little bit of assistance. And the assistance might be limited to, could you take a look at my resume? Or, you know what, I'm not sure how to do this particular interview. That's what we're here for. Because Employment Services is here to partner with you for your job search plan. We are not here to get you the job. By the assistance that we provide, is we partner with you to your goal. And the byproduct of that can be employment. And in doing so, we take our clients that have requested our assistance through an intake assessment. And with that assessment, we kind of find out, where have you been? Where do you want to go to? What is your training interest? What sort of experience has life handed you? What might be some potential obstacles you have faced? How do we surmount them? What other services we can connect you with, because we partner a lot with our other government agencies, such as the Needs Assessment Unit, We partner for everything. You know, people might be running on hard times. The pandemic has not been easy on a lot of people. And some people might still be a bit you know, shaken by what has happened. And they just need to regain their confidence in going back into the job market. There are some people that just want to go in a complete different direction from what they have done previously. So it's a conversation we can have. And when you find that our goal, which is moving people to self-sufficiency, when a person feels empowered, the world takes over for them. Because we are not there when they go to bed at night. You know, we're not there with them on the weekend, but we are there in their psyche. We're there in their ear saying, you can do this, you know. Oh, is this all you need from me? I can do that to assist you. But when they're in that room, in that interview, they're empowered to do that interview. And so we want to come right alongside our people and say, this is how we can support you. And if this is the type of service that you want, then Employment Services stands at the ready to support you with that. I just do want to say, though, that you don't necessarily have to request the assistance of the Employment Services Unit as a Caymanian. You do have the ability to be an independent client, which allows you still to see these jobs. One thing I need to mention, that these jobs can be seen without having to be registered.
Okay,
Yes, so
great.
they are available to you directly on the portal, the work.ky, sorry. And there is 2 tabs, Mr. Scott. I think one is Jobs Cayman itself, and then there's the job search tab.
Okay.
That way you can, you know, fine tune whether you want to search by title, employer, you know, that sort of thing. And it'll be available to you. It's just at the point, though, if you decide, hey, I am interested in this position, I am not registered at the moment, you're going to have to go to the point of registration to actually apply for it.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. Folks, when we return, the conversation with representatives from work will continue, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay.
No one can stop me when I taste the feel.
Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Are you feeling sick, but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have in the studio with us the Acting Interim Director of Work, Mr. Jeremy Scott, the Deputy Director, Ms. Shan Pardo, Customer Service Care Manager, Mr. O'Neill Roberts, and Employment Services Manager, Ms. Tanya Ebanks. We're talking, about the new regulations that have come into effect, but also take an opportunity to advise our listening and viewing audience, the general public, about the services that are available to them if you're either seeking employment or at the same time if you are an employer seeking employees or potential employees as well. One of our listeners wanted to know whether or not if there are jobs for persons who are retired, retirement age, who are still able to work or even part-time jobs, whether or not that those adverts would be available on the system as well. Anyone?
Okay, so I can definitely take that up. Well, first of all, yes. So job seekers, despite age, despite being retired, we would implore and champion contacting us, registering. Either they're going to independently be able to view jobs that are there that would fit such criteria, or whether or not they would actually be job seeker extended clients that would be aided by the Employment Services Officer. We would definitely implore any individual to actually become registered independently, do their own vetting and job searching within the portal, or be aided by the Employment Service Officers. If I could add, Mr. Connor, again, the beauty, I always reflect on this, is that the beautiful problem that we have is that we have more opportunities than we have when it comes to employment than we actually have unemployed. So we have a very good opportunity to match, upskill, develop our Caymanians to meet those demands. So in saying that, within the last year, to put it into perspective, we've actually processed and approved 19,727 job posts within the given year. That equates to roughly about 1,600 adverts on any given month being viewable on the portal. Again, hearing the concerns of job seekers and the general public alike, we've actually given, and just to further complement Mrs. Ebank's comments earlier on the job search, on our website, you can actually go to job search, which is an open search model, where I always say, without even putting criteria in there, typing, whether or not you're looking for administrative, financial services, you can actually leave it blank and press search, and it'll actually pull up every valid application. So the only jobs you'll see on that on the website that is reflecting the portal and job opportunities is actually active jobs that are still being advertised. So as soon as they are expired, they're not viewable. So that's the beauty of that. So we would implore, what we're seeing as well from tracking between 2020 and now, every year we have actually increased, it's actually quite coincidental, we've actually increased up to 5,000 more each year being advertised. And again, I say that's a good problem to have. Now it's for us to partner with job seekers and industry partners in actually upskilling and matching those persons to job opportunities.
We have another observation here. The person wanted to know if they have applied, to a company that has advertised on the Jobs Cayman portal. Is there any type of follow-up, or does that prospective employer then, when they're applying for a work permit, if they say, well, we have advertised and no Caymanians have applied, what is the verification process like in that regard to ensure that there is full compliance with the requirements to advertise?
Okay, so definitely there is a governance aspect of advertising on the portal by employers. The one thing that I continue to champion and will share with the general public is that it's imperative for the job seeker to apply via our portal to that job. There is a gap in that if the job seeker applies outside of our services or outside of the portal, we do not necessarily guarantee, and we cannot guarantee, that the applications being filed on the current platform, future state, yes, we will have other checks and balances, but right now, if the job seeker applies directly to that employer and not through our portal, we're not going to be able to guarantee that we're actually seeing that candidate as a Caymanian and provide that level of protection. I will say this, that if they choose to go that route and they are concerned that they may not have been provided with equal opportunity in that drive for employment, they can reach out to us. I would suggest it would be under the umbrella of a complaint or a concern. They can actually reach out to us via our email, which is workcomplaints@gov.ky. I'll repeat that again. It's workcomplaints@gov.ky. That team is charged with addressing any concerns of grievances or any activities that would be deemed in breach of our substantive law regulations.
Okay. Now, can we go back to the regulations and talk about that with the changes in the regulation? Now, how does that position persons who are legally resident here, either Caymanians or permanent residents? How does that, the new regulations, better position them? What is the history, of temporary work permits? And you talk about the temporaries being, in your opening comments, you spoke about the fact that temporaries being used to segue into full employment. How will this new requirement to advertise address that issue?
Okay, so great question. Right now, any temporary work permit being applied for initial up to 30 days, it's not subject to advertising. Again, it's under the auspices that this is short-term employment. If an employer desires to then renew that work permit, either up to 180 days, 6 months, or to advance on to annual applications, that would be subject to advertising. If I could further explain that there are carve-outs in the regulation that cater to employers who truly have temporary employment opportunities that would not be subject to it. So if you mind, I'll just read through. Sure. So Regulation 5C of the amendment also carves out a provision exempting advertising for workers who are truly required for short periods, up to 6 months. But these persons will continue to have their normal place of abode outside the islands after the expiration of the temporary work permit, and who enters the islands to work for a specific purpose or occasion only, and leaves the island at the conclusion thereof or upon the expiration of the temporary work permit, whichever first occurs, including 1, legal counsel acting in a manner whether before a court in the islands or otherwise, a visiting medical practitioner or other specialist in the medical field, a consultant, an overseas vendor or traveling salesperson, or any other person coming on short-term assignments. And again, the purpose of this was not to impede the nature of workers who are needed by employers where that skill set is not necessarily available locally. And the objective was to also improve full visibility of jobs that would fall outside of those criterias. Again, one of the things in a recent forum, it was raised, and I believe it was actually the Minister of Labour had raised in one of our latest forums of appearance, was that, again, we want to urge employers as well that although they may seek to employ persons overseas in such categories, the substantive law does in fact charge the authorities, or myself, the administrators, as well as the boards, in making sure that they are taking advantage of local services that are available, either direct workers or whether or not it's companies that are currently operating here. We do know that there is a lean towards, overseas services, but when we do process applications for work permits, even outside of having the waiver, the adverts waived or submitted, we still have to factor in whether there's local services available. So we want to share with the general public. Again, use local services, shop locally for workers in the Cayman Islands.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we have another question, and I'll read it before we go to the break. Give you an opportunity to think about it, and we can decide who's going to respond as well. This person says, many employers use the temporary work permit option because of the long delays in getting annual work permits processed. What will work now do to improve the timing and avoid long delays with the processing of temporary work permits as well as the work permits? All of these unreasonable delays could have a serious negative impact on business survival and on our service economy, especially if they genuinely cannot find Caymanians for those jobs. So if we could talk about that when we return as well, folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
Ouch! It's hard to expect a good day after a bad night's sleep. Take advantage of Bransaw's Home Gallery's Sleep Sale. Save up to 40% plus free delivery on Tempur-Pedic and Silly mattresses. Insomnia is bad for your health, so start sleeping better with the Bransaw's Home Gallery 40% off Sleep Sale. Hurry! Sale ends Saturday, March 11th. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 949-5211.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning the acting interim director of work, Mr. Jeremy Scott, deputy director, Ms. Sean Pardo, Customer Care Manager, Mr. O'Neill Roberts, and Employment Services Manager, Ms. Tanya Ebanks. We're talking about the new regulations, which are due to come into effect on the 31st of this month, but they're also taking the opportunity to share with you information about the services that they render to the public, as well. And while this show is not intended in any way to address individuals' personal challenges or issues, we're here trying to give you an overall view and to give out as much information, as possible. So as a result of that, we're not taking any calls, but if you do have any questions or observations, we ask you to please submit them. You do that by emailing us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky, or you can WhatsApp us at 925-3261. Folks, back over to you and the last question that we had from a listener.
Sure. Mr. Connor, do you want to repeat the question so that in case someone's missed it?
Sure.
And then I can answer it.
Yep. Okay. So the person's wanted to know, they first state that many employers use the temporary option because of the long delays in getting annual work permits processed. So we can address the issue of, the annual work permits. And then they wanted to know what will Work Now do to improve the timing and avoid long delays with the processing of temporaries as well as the work permits. I'm not sure that there's a long delay in terms of temporaries at this point in time.
No,
because,
no.
Yeah, all right?
No. Historically, we've processed temporaries within a 10 to 14 day period. Hence, and I think that the policy steer has been a long time in the last couple of years. Try out a temporary before you take out long-term employment.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to see that shift now within the government. So yes, we've actually looked at reducing the waiting times and processing times of actually processing annuals. So with this new shift coming on board on March 31st, we've already deployed resources to be able to tackle that. So we're encouraging the public to actually take out annuals rather than taking out a temporary, because what happens is we could have a temporary in, we could have an annual in. Hence, we have two applications. And then, like someone takes out a temporary and then they do an extension of another temporary, and it just clogs up the system. So policy-wise, internally, we would have put more resources historically on processing those temps. We're going to have a shift. We've already had a meeting, we've set stuff in place, so people will be able to get their annuals processed a lot quicker. So we do have a plan of action. We're encouraging the public to definitely take out the annuals versus the temps, to avoid having those 2 or 3 applications in sometimes for the same person.
And what other policies have you? Because we know that there are many instances where it isn't the department's fault why applications have been delayed. It could be because persons have failed to submit the relevant information to ensure that they're in full compliance. And I believe something may have been introduced to that effect, that if there's an incomplete application, either in terms of filling out of the form or providing the additional information that is required, that application will not be either accepted or processed. Can we speak to that as well?
Yeah, late last year we actually took a decision that if you do not have a complete application, then it comes in, by the time it gets to the board or the administrator, it is going to be refused. And historically, people would put in applications knowing they were missing, I don't know, it could be the medical, it could be, their insurance, etc. Various things missing on it, because by the time they know that the application got in front of the board or the administrator, they hopefully would have submitted that information, or they'll get it and they'll defer it. So that what was happening in the department was we're looking at an application 3 and 4 times because of deferrals. So that is also clogging up the system. So that's kind of like a old policy that happened over the years. So we've stopped doing that. So if your application comes in and somehow gets past customer care and gets through the processing clerks and into an administrator or to a board, and it is missing something, it is going to be refused. So, and we've seen the numbers come down quite a bit on having those. And people are a lot more mindful too when they submit an application to make sure that it's actually filled out properly. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we've definitely seen an improvement.
So, Ms. Tanya, we're going to come back over to your area of responsibility, and the temporary work permits. And Mrs. Scott, speaking, of not using that to segue into annual application. We know that the old system, in a way, favored the holder of a temporary work permit, because the employer had the opportunity to say, well, this person has been with us, for 90 days, 180 days. They now know the system. So it possibly puts a Caymanian or a permanent resident applicant at a disadvantage. Can you comment on that, and what you're doing to address that as well?
You read my mind. So thank you for that question, Mr. Connor. It is, in fact, true. What I'd like to respond in that respect is I'm speaking to my people now. I'm speaking to Caymanians and those who soon become Caymanian, because we know people are already on that track.
Yep.
And we need to take care of home first. Notwithstanding, we do have to import skills, but why not look local, like how Mr. Scott is saying. The Caymanians and persons who have that legal right here, who have the next, in line, need to consider that these temporaries really are an option for you as well. And I'm speaking to the employers as well, saying, why wouldn't you want to look local? Why wouldn't you want to stabilize your organization where you could focus on growing your business rather than, is it time to go down to work again to apply for an application? Ultimately, we know that a great percentage of these tempers turn into a grant and then ultimately renewals, and actually it tracks all the way to the right to be Caymanian.
Yes.
Think about it. So why wouldn't you as a Caymanian want to consider, hey, every other job I might go for has a probationary period. So if this is a temporary opportunity and ultimately they tend to turn into a grant, could that also not mean a long-term employment opportunity for me? We know traditionally the temporaries have not really come before our attention, although we did have a little mechanism put in place to try to give our Caymanians and persons that opportunity where the work administrators work directly with employment services. However, there was nothing hard and fast. There was no, no mandate. Now that we will have this, now we know that is closing a major gap for us. And just the point is that everything under the sun might come in for a particular temporary. Now, we can understand, certain categories are undersubscribed. Certain skills are so specialized that they're not necessarily readily here. But if you need a temp secretary, temp administrative assistant, why aren't you shopping locally? Why aren't you advertising that locally? Why aren't you looking to see if Caymanians? Caymanians, you also need to appreciate that those of you who are already, say, registering with the local recruitment agencies, this is very similar, very much the same thing. So if you're willing to work along with work and work along with, recruitment agencies, then you increase your chances of success with gaining some employment, which ultimately can turn into long-term employment. Because I do believe the employers that are listening appreciate that you want your business to be successful. Work is not just here for the job seeker. Do not get me wrong. Although that's the business that I am in, we are here to support both sides.
Yes.
Because without employers and stable employment, there is no jobs for Caymanians or anyone else legally resident here.
Excellent point. Yeah.
So work has to strike that balance between both. But we look at this temporary opportunity as another resource for the people that we support. And remember, now we're not supporting every single Caymanian on the island or every single Caymanian job seeker that's coming to work. We're supporting the persons that say, hey, I need a little bit of support, or, I just want you to take a look at something for me. So I want your help for now. Again, I'm speaking to the people that don't feel they need that facility, can go ahead and look at the opportunities on their own. You have that option as well.
Okay.
Right? But temporary work permits for us is a new opportunity, an additional opportunity for Caymanian job seekers.
All right. Mr. Roberts, over to you.
Yes, I just wanted to add a couple more things that persons may not fully understand about the reg that is going to come in effect on the 31st of March. If you were traditional, let's say you were applying for an express work permit, you could just come in on the 31st, which is a Friday, I think, and apply for your express, and within 48 hours you would get a result in that permit. We want to remind the public that if your intention is to apply for any type of application, on the 31st there's going to be a requirement that the job has to be advertised first, and that advert would have to run its 14-day course. I'm saying that to say that you may have to be considering what your employment needs are going to be 14 days out to the 31st in order to ensure that you're in compliance with what the law requires. So anyone who's thinking about, hey, we may need to bring in someone on the 31st, from 14 days out, you need to try to make sure that you're registered with us, make sure that you publish that ad, because in order for us to process that application, although it's being an express, it has to go through the 14 days, be approved, and then made available for Caymanians. So it's something people may not realize, that they need to have these things in place prior to. And again, I just want to share some details in case persons are unable to access the portal or having any issues at all. We have an email address that you can contact us on. It's jobscaymanhelp@gov.ky. Jobscaymanhelp is all one word, @gov.ky. And our contact number again is 945-9672, and the toll-free number is 1-800-534-9672. And I'll give her our address, because I know Cayman is small, but people may not know we are. So we're right there on Mary Street, and our opening hours are 8:30 to 4. So if you're having any issues with getting registered, any issues with navigating our portal, we ask that you either call us or you just pop in and come and see us.
Okay, we're going to take our last commercial break. When we return, we again going to continue the conversation, and if we can talk again about these new regulations that have been put in place, how they're designed to benefit both parties, the employer and the prospective employee as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Attention passengers, the Cayman Airways Panama airfare sale has been extended. In just under 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can explore UNESCO World Heritage Sites and the 8th wonder of the modern world, all within driving distance of a cosmopolitan city. Hurry, book by March 12th to get Panama airfares on sale from just $296 CI round trip. Some conditions apply. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway.
You know what I love to do with my family? Go fishing. I can put the bait on and cast and reel the line all by myself. My mommy and daddy say when they were little, there were plenty more fish to catch, but now there are lots more people fishing, so it's harder to find them. That's why we have marine parks now. They set some areas aside so the fish there can have babies and grow bigger. Then they swim out to other areas where I can catch them. Having the marine parks means there will still be fish there when I'm grown up and fishing with a family of my own.
For more info, download the Cayman DOE app or visit doe.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of the show this morning. Time goes by so quickly, but we're covering a lot of details in a 1 hour period of time. The discussion has taken place with the Acting Interim Director of Work, Mr. Jeremy Scott, the Deputy Director, Ms. Shan Pardo, Customer Care Manager, Mr. O'Neill Roberts, and Employment Services Manager, Ms. Tanya Ebanks. So one of our previous writers said that they didn't really get an answer on the question of why work permits take so long, and I will give our panelists an opportunity. But just to add my 5 cents in terms of my knowledge and experience, it could be a combination of factors that will take an application to be processed so long. Person wanted to know whether or not the board meetings are regular, and I would say that most boards meet at least twice per week. And while it is volunteered, they don't volunteer on their own. They're selected and asked to serve, and they do receive what should I say, a token token reward for their services as well. May not be commensurate with the work that is done, and may not be comparable to other statutory boards of other statutory authorities and government companies. That may be a challenge as well, but I'll let the experts tell you what they have to say about it.
To that caller, I think I'd like to just kind of give them some statistics on actually what the work department faces on any given day. For 2022 alone, we processed approximately 63,800 applications we reviewed. Of those, I think about 3,000 or odd were PR and Cayman status. So that left us with 60,000 applications that were work permit based. Of that, over 30,000 were temporary work permits. So again, what was happening is an employer or an individual would put in a temporary application plus an annual application. We had an internal policy where we would turn over temporary applications within a 10 to 14 day, sometimes less. So of course then for temporary applications, we tended to be processing those more than the annuals. We've now decided to put a plan in action that we're shifting, and we started doing it from January. We're processing annuals and stuff more predominantly than temps, just to have that shift. So you should start to see those numbers come down and the times come down for annuals. So just for the listening public, if they would just give us a chance. And again, I kind of say sometimes we get all the flack, you know, from the business community and everyone. But if you realize how the work department works and the staff are so resilient, you know, they come up, they show up every single day, and the amount of stuff that they process, it's mind-boggling. I look at statistics for the month of February alone. We processed over 5,000 applications, the administrators. The boards processed about 1,000 applications. And to the caller board meetings, the work permit board meets twice a week. They process approximately 75 applications per meeting. The business staffing plan meets twice a week. They process about 50 applications per meeting. The CS and PR board only meet once a week, and they process about between 40 or 50 applications, given if they're doing interviews, etc. So, and those are all, like you said, people taking time out. They get a stipend for that service, but it is time consuming. So yeah, and definitely the administrators, again, we only have a pool of 11 administrators. They process about 30 applications each a day. So it kind of gives you a context of the volume that we are dealing with.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Mrs. Scott, I know you're going to talk about the either flexibility or lack of flexibility that these regulations will, impose on the department. And if you could mention, are there any sanctions in place? Let's say, for instance, a company makes an application for a temporary on the basis that it is a genuine temporary employment. Now, we know that things can occur that may change that situation, but is there anything in place that says that that person, while employed on a temporary, that an application for a annual work permit will not be considered because of the commitments that the employer made in applying for that temporary work permit? If you could include that in the discretionary powers or lack of discretionary powers that you may have as the director.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Connor. So with the regulations and the amendment that is actually coming into force as of the 31st of March this year, there's a further direction that was actually provided in relation to the powers that existed prior, allowing there to be not necessarily an open discretionary measure in waiving, say for instance, back obviously prior to this it would be annuals. It actually provides us with a restriction as to how we go about waiving. And again, the purpose of that is that one, yes, we have to balance, and I think Ms. Tanya alluded to this earlier, is that I always look at the work department as existing on two pillars. One, it's there as priority first to our locals, our job seekers, Caymanians, permanent residents first, and then coupled with understanding that we need to continue to facilitate labor to the labor market, right? And skills that may not be available across the board. So further directions came by Immigration Work Permit Directions 2022, which applied to all authorities having powers to decide on all work permit applications. This included the director and delegates as well as the boards. It actually stipulates that applicants shall not be granted waivers from vacancy registrations unless, one, there's very exceptional circumstances that include where there is clear evidence that a waiver is urgently required, where the skills experience required for the position are of such specialized nature that it is extremely unlikely that there is, one, a Caymanian, two, a holder of residence and employment rights certificate issued, or three, persons legally and ordinarily resident who is qualified and willing to be employed in the position. Or the last, where the employer is seeking to employ a babysitter, nanny, specialist caregiver, caretaker, private chef, butler, or any other worker in a personal capacity. The latter was very intentional in that we understand from our own labor market research that there are certain jobs, and again, we can't say that at any given time we may not have a minority that would be interested in certain entry-level jobs or unskilled jobs as well. So hence the reason why it's not a total exemption when you're applying to employ a person in a personal capacity, because that also could be a driver, right? We know that, and I'm sure Ms. Tanya could support this, is that in certain occupations, whether it be a temporary opportunity or a full-time employment opportunity, we do have Caymanians who are actively looking, who have the requisite skills and experience to be able to be matched to these jobs. What I will also add, Mr. Connor, is that in relation to this, we know that these regulation changes and further directions to apply waivers are maybe a little bit confusing at this point in time. So one, I want to implore the public, we do have FAQs and further details on our website, which is worc.ky. You can actually visit there, and I believe there's another website, or a page at least, that actually deals specifically with these changes, and that is jobs.worc.ky. And again, we've you'll see on social platforms as well that we've actually enhanced and provided the public with information. What exactly will these changes and regulations encompass, and what exactly are we asking the general public, job seekers and employers that they need to actually follow?
Okay, we have another question that falls, I guess, with Ms. Tanya and Mr. O'Neill. The person says, could you advise the public why it is necessary for Caymanians to register on the Jobs Cayman portal? Then they go on to say, for many people who are not computer savvy, and I believe that you touched on some of this in your opening comments as well, they are not only missing the employer job postings, but they are not applying because of the need to register. As a result, some employers get work permits because they simply can state no Caymanians applied. And then they go on to say that this topic needs a lot more discussion.
Thank you for that. And so just to remind everyone what was said earlier, you don't actually have to be registered initially to see the jobs, but in order to apply for them, you do. For those persons, and we appreciate it, not everybody has the same life experience or background. This is where employment services can come into play for those persons who may not be computer literate, or may simply not have the infrastructure at home. A lot of people can operate virtually, and that's fine, but if they need that assistance, they can register for that assistance, and the officer can partner with them in order to apply. However, like what Mrs. Scott said earlier, is that if you are on there looking, these jobs should always be before your view. But if you choose to apply outside of the system, then work cannot support or is even aware that you made that application. You would then rely upon the employer to identify that you have. And also to the final point that he mentioned was that if you do have to take that outside option, work is not involved, you still have at least one more opportunity to let work know, but it'll probably be in the form of a complaint. So work complaints at gov.ky email.
Okay, we want to give everyone an opportunity for some closing comments, starting with you, Mr. Roberts, and we'll go around. Mr. Jeremy will have the last word.
Okay. I just want to provide our contact numbers again, 945-9672, and I just also want to remind the business community that if you're minded to submit a work permit, a temporary work permit, any form, on the 31st, you would have to get that advert to us by the 14th, the latest, in order for it to be posted on our website and be visible for Caymanians. And speaking to the caller or the person who just sent in the message, if you have any issues with, you said you're not computer savvy, please contact us or even just pop into the office, and we have persons standing by to assist you with that. Because if you're not on the website, then it's very difficult for us to monitor and to assist you wherever you need.
Okay. Ms. Tanya, anything else you want to add?
And to my Caymanian job seekers, you have long been saying that you're not getting all of the opportunities. Well, here is your opportunity now. Come and partner with work if you want us in the mix. We certainly are willing to do that. Or if you just need some advice about how to go from here on in, we're here. Work Employment Services at gov.ky is our email. And 649-8087. You can call us directly for any information that you need. But we stand here ready to support you if you want us in the to partner along with you, or if you simply want some advice on where to go. But this temporary work permit opportunity is a way for you to consider finding short-term opportunity leading to long-term employment.
Yep. Ms. Pardo.
Just to the listening public, I just want to reiterate, hire local, hire Caymanians. Give us...
Bring that mic a little.
Yeah. Give Caymanians a chance. I think we have a long-standing narrative of Caymanians are lazy, they don't want to work or whatever. I'm of the opinion that is a narrative that has been thrown out
False
to us.
narrative.
Yes, and I strongly believe we have some of the hardest working people that we have ever seen. Give us a chance in our own country.
Okay, Mr. Scott.
Yes, sir. Again, thank you for having us here. I want to also thank my team for showing up and definitely performing amazing. We do a lot for the community. Our staff are dedicated. We're open-minded as well. We're responsive to changes and understanding the dynamics within the labor force and what we need to do to assist on both sides. Again, in relation to our Caymanians, we're making it very clear how we can actually assist you. If you have limitations, come to us. We're willing to assist you in aiding you either directly with placements of opportunities and employment, as well as upskilling and development, because we actually do provide significant programs and actually partner with industry leaders as well. And one last thing I'll mention is that, and on Sean's, under her umbrella, we've recognized the importance of knowledge is power. So knowing exactly what the labor force and the demands and the trends are actually identifying, we've actually introduced a labor market manager as of last year. And in September of last year, we were able to produce and share with key stakeholders the labor market research report, which was very informative. I even had the labor market manager visit various boards to identify who he was, what services were actually being provided, and those statistics and that information and those trends and analysis actually assist us in actually developing out further initiatives and partnerships and scholarships. I know in one of our last forums we had the opportunity to also share that we're also identifying, like I said, any gaps in relation to us even assisting our tertiary education scholarship awardees and understanding if they want our assistance. I know that there are some limitations with what we can access independently in relation to who they are. Mm-hmm. So we would also like to reach out to them and say, hey, you know, reach out to us, reach out to an employment service team through the contacts that have been shared to assist early, because we do have, as mentioned, tying it all up, we do have a really good problem, and that is that we have an ever-increasing labor market and opportunities for you as a Caymanian.
Okay, I want to thank all of you for being here this morning, folks. I cannot give you my closing comments because we're a little bit over time, but I just encourage you to join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for talk today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com